Well, all right. I've seen the third episode of Skeleton Crew, and it's more of the same of the first two, which I said were, for the most part, fine. Not really for me, but a children's show of these kids getting swept up in this adventure, and there's some mystery and things like that, which it carries on with, especially about their home planet being this lost world, and you get a little more of that sort of thing going on, and more details about the planet, in that they deliberately shielded themselves from the outside galaxy. And you get a little more some elements of what may have happened. And apparently there were other worlds that were destroyed, this one being the only one left. I don't with these early Death Star experiments or whatever, but apparently this goes back way further than that. So I don't know. But for the most part, you got your mysterious Jude Law character. We learn his name is Crimson Jack. He was the pirate captain, of course. Does he have force powers? He clearly was not a Jedi. May have had some training in it, unless there's some trickery here. They also do the thing of the most obvious question. Some of these shows, they'll do something so blatant, and you're, well, then why didn't you do this? That sort of thing. So he easily escapes the cell that they lock the kids up, him with them, and he's able to seemingly use the Force to get the keys and get out. Well, very obviously, he says, I didn't have a ship. Now I got one. But it's also because he overheard what they're talking about, and he's come to believe that there's something to this about the Ad-Atten planet. And he realizes these kids are a key to a big score that he could get for whatever is supposed to be this lost treasure on the planet. Meanwhile, the kids are saying, there's no treasure on the planet and all this. One of them, the elephant boy, says, hey, maybe it's about the Great Work, which is this mysterious project that, all their parents are working for and all this sort of thing. So, all right, they continue on with that. The guy is, he's a scoundrel, again. But it appears he has some abilities with the Force in it. But then again, yes, it could be some sort of trickery. That, I don't know, some sort of device that he's kept hidden, what have you. But going along, there's chase here, chase there, meets an old friend who basically is an intelligent speaking owl who flits about, but she's got this library and she's got maps, and he says, hey, she can help get you back to your home planet. So it makes sense, but of course he wants to get to that planet as well. And she's already alerted the authorities, so X-Wing fighters show up, and there's a fight with that, but they're able to escape. But nevertheless, she's the one who gives more background on the overall the mystery of their home planet and what potentially happened to it, and so on and so forth. There are scenes from the planet where they demonstrate, yes, they've deliberately isolated themselves, and I don't know if it'll come out of that the Clone Wars is what blocked them off, or a previous war, who knows. But they've been isolated ever since, for so long that the wider galaxy no longer even believes the planet ever existed, and this sort of thing. There's good enough scenes between them. Some of the kids don't trust him. I mean, they shouldn't. Some think he's great, and that kind of thing. They get a little fight with the X-Wing fighters and whatnot. Don't worry, no one is harmed in the shooting of this battle. And they escape and all that. And then there's some kind of silly scenes portrayed as sort of dark pirate dialogue between Crimson Jack and the robot, or the droid. And but it's done well. And then a funny scene where the kids are all sleeping, and of course Elephant Boy makes a little horn noise as he snores in his sleep. So, come on, it's cute. So other than that, it's more the same of the first two as they're going along, and I don't find a lot of fault with it, unless there was some Easter egg I didn't catch, and it was actually more insulting to the, that kind of thing. But going into it, the rumor was that this takes a massive leftward turn and goes woke and all this stuff. And apparently all it is one of the kids has a lesbian couple as their parents. And you kind of blink and you miss them. All the parents have come together worried about the kids because they've left the planet, and the authorities send a droid to talk to them, and the droid's like, calm down, because they want to, hey, look, we got to break the protocol and leave the planet to go find our kids and contact the Republic and see that they could put out a search for them and all that in there. And apparently the authorities of the planet are like, absolutely not, and so that deepens more of the mystery. Meanwhile, Wim's dad is sitting there very silent about it all, so he's probably already thinking of some plan of his own, and maybe he will strike out and leave the planet, or something of that nature. But anyway, that's about it. It's very brief, and it catches up. Hey, what are the parents doing? Well, there you go. You get that scene. And it's just, well, there's this lesbian couple. And it's like, well, oh no, there it is. That in and of itself. And it was like, well, we checked that box. Good. Now let's just tell this story of kids having an adventure in space and leave it at that. And if that's all they do, I just don't find any fault with it. I know a lot of people are burnt by the era we've been in. They have legitimate grievance for it. But this is one of these things where I said, the landscape is irradiated, and the slightest whiff of anything of that nature is immediately, screeched at, which is kind of the reaction the left would do at anything that didn't go their way, So is that enough to, well, that's it, it's woke and done? No, can't. No. It's not this spectacular show. It's easily not one of the worst, probably one of their best of these shows, which haven't been that great. There's all kinds of problems with them here and there, certainly within canon and whatnot. The majority of them were awful. If nothing else, just extremely lackluster. The Ahsoka show had a lot of stupid in it and was just very lackluster. The effects look good for the most part, but that's about it. But that's a more serious problem with a better, well-known character. You've got Anakin showing up in it and all this sort of stuff. You would think there'd be more care to an actual compelling adventure and narrative for it, and not to be just lazy with their own characters with Ezra Bridger and all that. I just was stunned at how bad that was. Here you've got these brand new characters and all this sort of thing, and they're just being introduced on this little adventure in the galaxy, geared at a younger audience, and for the most part it's just fine. I don't think it's overwhelming or great. I don't think anything great will come of it. It's nowhere near to the intelligence of the Andor series, which is the only other one that was good. And then you have Mandalorian, which was a good adventure story. This one, very childlike and whatnot, but could be somewhat on par with that. Not going to achieve, I doubt. I mean, at this point, I would rather they didn't make any nods to, Luke and Leia and stuff like that within it, and just keep it sort of contained to itself. But that's it. You've got 2 seasons of Mandalorian, then you have Andor, and I guess you kind of have this, but it's it's not that great. It's not going to save anything. because you've had too much really bad shows, and especially in the case of Ahsoka, and even worse than that, Obi-Wan. What they did with Obi-Wan is just more of the, it's just unforgivable. So it's hard to come back from that. So that's just an objective look at it. Beyond that, and if I wasn't doing the pop culture breakdown show, I probably would not have bothered with this. But to objectively look at it and honestly look at it, it's just okay. That's all I can do about it.